response video to the Modern Mystic. Yeah, we're really not making much progress here. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna. I haven't played his whole video. He didn't watch my whole video and make his response, so I'll do the same thing just because I feel like it and I'm irritated. I'm pissed off. Anyway, so I'm like 4 minutes and 48 is where I'm gonna pick this up. But he's basically arguing, that because and he chose, in my opinion, examples of pain that are not very good examples. Than hitting your hand with a hammer, because that reaction is so reflexive. It's almost like seeing a spider. I mean, you react to what you've done more than you're reacting to an actual feeling. A better example of a pain to explain to me is backache or something. Or sciatica would be even better. A sciatic back pain. Where your leg is on fire and you feel like fucking throwing up and you're just as miserable could be. And tell me how nothing's harmed, nothing's hurt in your brain. Well, that doesn't mean anything. Again, you're missing this is just so obvious that I shouldn't have to explain this, because this is just so obvious. But, the whole point of me describing these layers of the brain is that these layers are figuring out ahead of time what's damaging and what's not damaging to the physical body. Now, of course, there's no damage to the brain. There's nothing to hurt inside of the brain. There's not some thing, that's going to be caused, like if a computer was to say error. That doesn't necessarily mean that the computer's catching on fire, that the CPU is on fire and it needs you to throw a bucket of water on it. No, it means that something wrong has taken place and it needs to be corrected. And what our brain is doing with these layers of emotion and programmed reactions, and then our whole conditioning, the desires and the aversions, and then this intelligence built on top, as I've made these arguments, reptile, ape, human, is that these are gradations of sophistication in terms of assessing the environment and figuring out whether there's something that needs to be worried about, something that needs to be prevented. The whole point is to not hit the thumb with the hammer. The whole point is to see the thumb getting hit in the hammer in the future and say, don't do that. Just like I, as an antinatalist, am arguing to people, don't have kids now, because they're going to grow old and die horribly and miserably, and they might do it hating your motherfucking guts, because they'd rather not have been disturbed. They'd rather not have been dragged to your cesspool to play your stupid, hopscotchy moron game. So you don't do it in advance. You prevent my existence by preventing you see it happening in the future, and you say, I would like to prevent that thing from happening in the future, so I will act now to prevent that thing in the future. Now, I'm obviously not suffering that future now. I'm not getting hit with the hammer in the now. I'm preventing it from happening by thinking about it, by having a cognitive process. And the point is that that cognitive process works by triggering feelings that are a capacity of our brain. Our brain can manifest this thing called an unpleasant motherfucking sensation. And it's using that power to motivate me, to say, you better fight for that, or else you're going to feel a taste of this. It gives me a taste of it. It says, remember what that tastes like. You don't want to bite on that piece of shit again, do ya? And so it gives me motivation. That's what these feelings are for. All right? So I'm not sitting here saying a brain is harmed or you're talking as if all we are is some kind of, one level of reaction. Okay? Do damage, reaction. Do damage, reaction. No, the whole reason why I have all this neurology is to make it so we can prevent damage.
Program that has a face up on the screen, the protect me, I don't want to be hurt program. But that program exactly. Protect me, I don't want to be hurt program. Exactly. So why did you convert that program into something that has to manifest actual harm now?
All it has to manifest is this taste of it. To give the thing a taste of what it will be like if it doesn't do something to stop it. And so then the brain automatically reacts to the circumstance. It says, you need to pay attention to this. Here's some pain. Pay attention to this. Here's some emotional pain. Here's some emotional distress. Now pay the fuck attention and work on this problem, shithead. And that's how it gets our brain to work on the problem, is by creating a problem. And the problem created is a sensation, an unpleasant fucking sensation.
Hurt in the slightest by the thumb hit. There's no pain at all to that program that's running in the brainium. Or if it's represented by that, number 4 on the screen, that number 4 on the screen that's wailing about sore thumb is not in the slightest bit disturbed that the thumb is hurt. Not in the slightest bit. It's just doing...
Again, you keep talking as if there's just some straight line program. No. The program, I think, quite obviously, what the reflex does is the reflex goes to the pain center and creates the pain. And then it says to the rest of the brain, fix that problem. So it takes this world that's just this world, and it paints it red. It paints it with the pain. It paints it with the new problem. It puts the problem right in front of me with this mechanism of problem, of conflict, of dissidence, of suffering hard. And it gets, depending on what screws it's tightening, depending on what the problem is, it will crank that screw hard into my perception. And say, I'm not going to let you pay attention to anything else but the fact that your back is fucked. And that's all you're going to be aware of. And I don't care how many pills you shove down your gob, I'm going to fuck you up. Now, it doesn't do that for any good reason. It doesn't do that because the biology knows what it's doing. It does that because the fucking system obviously breaks down sometimes. And it obviously thinks there's a Tyrannosaurus in the room when there fucking goddamn isn't. It fucking thinks there's some sort of purpose in telling me my back hurts when I already fucking know that and I'm smart enough to remember that.
Its thing to try and do the appropriate thing to keep the human going through the world. What it comes down to is you, are explaining most of this is that the brain is us somehow. Well, it isn't. Or it is. Oh, fuck.
Look, it's us in the sense that no matter what program is running at one moment, it is in this conscious environment. It is swimming. Alright? So they're all the fucking programs, if they are going to be the conscious program, are going to be in the water. And the water is this stuff, this sensual data that we're receiving. And I mean sensual in the sense that it's not just through these senses, it's through this texture thing that's thrown in there, this feeling thing, this too cold, too hot thing. All right, that'll tell us whether we're sitting in boiling water or if it's ice cold. And it will give us it'll send us a hard message. If that water's too hot or that water's too cold, it's not going to say, the water's too hot, Gary. I think you ought to just think about maybe perhaps finding some other place to swim. No, it's going to say it in a crude, authoritarian way in the sense that it's going to create a sensation I cannot ignore.
Nothing is being hurt. The thumb is hurt, you could say. But nothing in the brain's being hurt. If you're the most...
Again, the whole point of the system is not to hurt the brain. The thumb is already damaged. Why would it hurt the brain? And this idea of harm being defined by just some sort of damage, that's not the point. Again, the point of the whole system is to create an illusionary harm. To create the thumb smash, okay, before the thumb smash. In an illusionary way, so that it is preventing this from happening by making this happen in our illusionary perception. So that's what I mean by making it real. It makes the damage real in every way in terms of how we're going to react to it. except it doesn't do real damage. It doesn't require us to smash our thumb. We don't have to be a Holocaust victim to, quote unquote, feel their pain. To imagine, use our brain and imagine, would I want to be eating those cockroaches? Would I want to be dying of typhus? Would I want to be thinking about my wife and kids as hamburgers? Yeah, that's what we can do with our brain, and we can suffer the pain that would be an imposition of the DNA if we were in that circumstance. So no, we're not getting jerked around like a paramecium, theoretically, or some other, that's going way too low, like some clam or something that has some basic organs. Maybe even have to go to insects. I don't know where you get that first ouch. No one's declared the first ouch critter. But that first ouch critter is just basically he's just given an ouch in the instant, in the present, in the right now. He's just doing the hammer smash, ouch, that hurts, run away. All right? That's all he's doing. We're doing something more complicated. And the point is the mechanism that made the ouch the first time was also an illusion.
Depressed day that you're ever having, there's nothing in the brain that's hurt. There's nothing in the body that's hurt. It's just what we could say, even acting irrationally to the outside world in a DNA sort of way. And as we've said, the DNA sort of way is the only way. That's the only
look, it's only irrational to someone who doesn't understand what a feeling is. So yeah, it's irrational to my computer. My computer's not going to understand it. Nothing that doesn't have some way to some volume that it's read where it can understand what a feeling is if it's never had one. As stated, it's really hard to explain feelings. How do you explain feelings to something that's never had one? I mean, it's a tricky, it's a tough, it's a big, it's a gnarly problem. But this, this is I've sort of had the indication that this is the problem in our conversation, that you really don't make distinctions. You don't think we're logically evolving. You think that somehow I genetically know what I know, or something like that. That there isn't something called information that is stuck on the matter in the world, and that we're information filters, and that we through the filter that each one of us is, this unique filter, it comes up with some phrase. I say, spot, run. And then some next guy adds, run, spot, run after the red ball or something, or however the story goes. They add to it. We're cooking something here. It's not just DNA simple anymore. The memes are evolving, okay? And they're not evolving given a rat's ass about what the DNA is doing. But that's not even the point I wanted to make, because that has really nothing to do with the core, which is the fact that this sensation thing is a different mechanism of the brain. It's created as a sixth sense. It's created as another thing to put in front of us, to react to. And it's a really loud thing. It's not like vision where you can just close your eyes, or you cover your ears, or close your nose. I mean, if there's a repulsive smell, or do something else to block it off. We can't block that bastard sense off. There's no eyeball. We just close the eyeball and say we're not going to feel no more.
Right. So being depressed and not going around and shagging someone is being inappropriate. That's all we can say.
Well, whatever. Like I said, these are kind of trivial examples. I mean, I'm really not talking. I mean, being depressed is an emotion. That's not, again, that's one of those layers. That's one of these fucking things that's creating that kind of crap. And that we can get ourselves out of. All right? That kind of suffering is bad because it's still made out of suffering. This crap influences the little ball of shit, the whatever you want to call it, the movement of the trigger thing, the pillow of doom, whatever you want to call it, that's inside of our brain, that once that thing goes off, we're in a not pleasant state of being.
No, I could get from the video that the other one in the screen, the one up here, the one that has got the spiel on the YouTube, going that suffering is the only value in the universe, is going blue murder about what I'm saying, but not listening to what I'm saying. All it's thinking is, well, I'm going to lose my job here. You can blither on about value being the only, whatever it is, suffering being the only value in the world, if you like. But all I'm trying to get you to understand, couldn't think of a better word, is that there is no suffering.
Yeah, well, whatever. Like I said, it's okay. You don't believe in this this idea of suffering. Fine. I can't fathom it for the life of me. It is. You're not speaking Japanese. You're speaking Martian Japanese. No, it's not even Martian Japanese. It's one of them fucking planets in another galaxy going around another sun Japanese. Yeah, I can't make anything out of that. All right? I mean, there's just no way to do that, I'm afraid. Yeah, there's just no way to sit there and say suffering is just like contemplating the redness of this lighter. Oh, it's all the same thing. Contemplating the redness of this lighter is the same thing as being in horrible pain. No, it's not the same thing. It's a different function inside the brain. It's a different function creating a different kind of illusion, and one illusion is damn hard, and one illusion is complete bullshit. It doesn't matter. Irrelevant. It's just little wires going ding, 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 ding. It's a different instrument being played. One of them's got real keys and bangs real strings in a way, and the other one is just looks like it. It just is synthetic. This is synthetic. This is nothing. Red. Okay. Nothing. Irrelevant. Okay. Turn that into a knife and stick it into my ear, and yeah, it's different then. So yeah. So I mean, yeah. Look, the good news is we've talked about the brain, and we were getting at least forcing conversation to recognize that these are programs running inside of us, that these are just what was the word you used the other day? Blobs? No. Globs? No. Clumps. We're just clumps, okay, of experience, stuff that's stuck together, memes included, ideas included, yeah, but I just can't. I can't make anything at all out of this idea that you can negate the conscious experience of revolting, horrid, unpleasant sensation. Just negate it. Just call it purple. Yeah, it's just purple. Fuck it. Don't worry about it. It's just purple. No, it's not just purple.
Because there isn't anything to suffer up in the head. The head isn't affected at all. So what's suffering? There is no suffering.
Again, you can't get away with that, because the whole point of the head, the whole point of the illusion created, is to create the damage illusionarily, to create fake positives and negatives, to make us do things that in a year from now could lead to a positive or a negative. We're trying to gain the benefit of not falling off the cliff by knowing that cliffs, you can fall off them and get hurt. And so by knowing that and by having some aversion created inside of us, now we will create things like caution or even fear. And so now we will not be vulnerable to falling over the cliff. So the whole point is to prevent damage by creating illusionary harm. I mean, let me say that again. Evolutionarily, the whole point is to prevent damage, real bodily damage, damage that might hurt the little testicles and make the baby not pop out right. Real damage, to prevent real damage by creating harm in advance.
To bits. There's no suffering in the thumb, and there's no suffering in the head. Is there?
Well, again, you can't change the vocabulary. Of course, there is suffering in the head. I'm conscious. Okay? I just visualized this. It happened in my head. My head has a visualization of this fucking battery in it. That's what it has. I just had a memory of a battery just like that. It's a vision in my head. It's there. The suffering is in my fucking head.
So, there's no suffering in the leg, and there's no suffering in the head. It's only a program that's running that is programmed to go apeshit.
Well, again, you keep talking about the reaction as if the reactions are all just physical reactions. Obviously, the reaction is psychological. There's lots of psychological reactions. They're just images in our head, things in our head. And one of those things in our head is a sensation of attraction and repulsion, aversion and comfort, discomfort and comfort. These are one of the things in our head. It is not, we don't go like this when I'm comfortable. There isn't some kind of flapping thing. Go, oh, my arm flaps. That means I'm happy because my arm is flapping. No, I don't have any physical attribute. That only happens when there's this thing you call damage. That only happens when you do some kind of damage thing. Okay? But all this other crap, the crap that I'm saying is important, the crap that's going on in the head of the Holocaust victim, that crap, okay, doesn't have any physical animation. There's no fucking silly person to laugh at there. All there is psychological harm taking place.
No suffering that you want to represent as suffering. The leg isn't suffering. The head isn't suffering. There's just a program going, well, I'm suffering. But it's only a program. And then you'll go, I know what it's like to suffer. And then I have to go, come on, Gary, we've got to go all the way back.
Yeah, it's only a program. Again, I mean, fine, go ahead. All right? I just can't, I'm sorry, I can't make any sense out of that. It's only a program. All right? I mean, I can just, then I can just stick this, jab it back and forth up my ass. And so I can just keep saying, it's only a program. And then I'd be called a fucking insane lunatic. There's just the only people who are saying it's only a program, okay, they're all in the fucking nut house. And for good fucking reason.
Free will, the willpower, all that. Say, what are you? And then we have to go all the way back through, yes, I am only these programs that are running, etc. And that's all that's suffering. Is a program that's running, and it's not suffering either.
There's nothing else in the universe to suffer, of course. You can't it's an illusion. I mean, how many times do I have to concede the point and make the point aggressively? There is no such thing. It's an illusion. As Einstein stated about time, but it's one hell of an illusion. Okay, it doesn't matter that it's an illusion. It doesn't matter that it's not made of something, that there isn't some real pain thingy, little ball of pain thingy, and you just poke it and, oh, there you go. But I'm saying that I think the brain is probably built that way. I think there is a kernel inside of us, an old primitive piece of us that is the little oucher. Okay, and all the rest of this crap has been built on that little oucher.
All it is doing, it's got to the I'm suffering. Press the I'm suffering button, and it's pretending to suffer. That's all there is. There is no
again, pretending. It just doesn't matter whether it's pretending. It just doesn't matter. To discount the function, the power of the illusion is just to say that this and this are the same thing. And they're not. This. All I have to do is stop the blood. All I do is press against these little arteries here. This all shuts off. It's gone. And I do it for long enough and it's all dead. It'll never come back. I mean, this is functioning. It's doing something. It's a machine. It's making a sound. All right? You can pretend that it's just vibrating or it's just doing this but it's doing something. And the something is it's creating this illusion of harm. This illusion of positive and negative. And it's one hell of a fucking illusion.
It's more. Cut the leg off. There's no suffering in the leg. Cut that, up in the head. There's just electrical and chemical signals going around. There's no suffering in the head.
Well, it's just stupid. Again, like I said, I could stick a probe in your head and I could hit something in your head and you'll go, ouch. I can hit things and I can make you feel horrible by short-circuiting. By making, you'll feel as if somebody just did crush your nuts. By poking something in your head. That's a possibility. We can do that. Because it's obviously going to something in our brain that creates that sensation, the illusion of a sensation. Again, I just can't see any point in saying this is the same thing as a backache. It's not. This color red, this perception of cigarette lighter, I'm contemplating it, that's the same thing as a horrid back pain. That's just ludicrous. I know the difference. I mean, you're gonna insult me because I say I know the difference? Yes, I've experienced the fucking goddamn difference. The distinction is overwhelming. They couldn't be further apart in terms of their function or reality to me. They couldn't be dissimilar. I can find the similarity is preposterously dissimilar. There's absolutely nothing about my conscious experience of those two events that has any similarity.
All there is a program that runs to say, alarm, alarm, alarm. Who does it say it to? Now you're going to say
it
me.
Doesn't say alarm, alarm, alarm. Okay? That would be fine if I just had a little bell that went off like an alarm clock and just said, ding-a-ling-a-ling-ling, you got a problem, morning, morning. That's not what happens. It creates a situation. It creates a functional situation inside of your body that screams. All right? When you have a backache, your back could be fine. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. There's a little bit of something wrong with it, but there's nothing you can fix, nothing you can do, and it's gonna make you think somebody's got a chisel and a hammer and they're whacking at your fucking spinal cord. That's what it's gonna make you feel.
Does it? That's the thing. It doesn't say it to anyone. It's a dwarf, and it shouts at the other dwarves. And dwarfs suffering or pretending to suffer.
Well, again, pretending to suffer. Again, this, how exactly do I pretend to suffer? How is it a pretense to suffer? Right. So you take my nuts and you hit them with a fucking sledgehammer, and I'm going to pretend to suffer. No, it's not going to be pretend. The suffering's going to be real. It's going to be hard. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be completely different than me sitting here thinking about a red lighter. I mean, they're not the same. It's not the same function. I mean, you can keep telling me that it's all just a program. It's all the same dwarf. It's all dwarf A, dwarf B, dwarf C. They're all made out of the same shit. I've been making this argument right from the very beginning, and this is where I think this is where our fundamental disagreement is. I don't think a feeling is a thought. The whole reason we have thoughts is to react to feelings. That's what they're there for. The thoughts are there to react to feelings. And the feelings are created through the feedback mechanism, okay, to be like the shorthand. That's like the intuition or some other, the emotions, the bullshit. Okay, it's to create a crude environmental shield that goes over us that basically says, I'm going to color the universe for you, and I want you to react to those colors I create for you. And that's what it's doing. It's perverting my view of the world, okay, deliberately. I mean, as a function. That's what it does. And then my brain has to react to what it creates in front of me. The smell, the putrid, nasty, horrid smell it creates inside of my consciousness. I have to react to it. I have to do something about it, like run away or hold my nose or something else. My brain has to figure out a solution to it. It creates, I'll say these things over again. It creates a situation. All right? The other dwarfs are thinking about solutions. The feeling part is creating a situation.
Event. Suffering is a wanky word, just like love is a wanky word, and all the other wanky words that we know about. Free. In free will. They're all wanky words.
Yeah, well, whatever. Like I said, it's just, there's just no way you can put these on the same scale. There's just no fucking way. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. those, as I stated, those are upper level emotions. They can affect the machinery that does the ouching. Okay, that's their power. But they're upper level. They don't affect it the same way. They drift on it. They fog on it. They drool on it. They manipulate it. All right? But they can't stop what's coming from the bottom up. They can't stop the lava reaction.
There is nothing to suffer. Only programs running.
Well, maybe that's a good way to put it. There's bottom up and there's top down. These are two different things. Top down, bottom up. The suffering, the qualitative flavor, taste, comes from the bottom up. Okay? The sensations that have a good or bad, a positive or negative taint to them. Those sensations come from the bottom up. Perspective comes from the top down. And in that perspective is tied motivation and desire and attractive and all those subtle things that it's building on top of what came from the bottom up.
Programs running pretending that they're suffering is not really anything to write home about. It can't. There's nothing that can suffer. The brain can't suffer, and the programs can't suffer.
Yeah, well, like I said, you're just blowing up the word suffer. I mean, quite obviously, the brain creates the illusion of comfort and discomfort. And when there's a lot of discomfort, that's called suffering. The brain's generating it. It's just, sorry, there's just no way to argue that away.
People in the boxes can't suffer. There is no suffering. And then there's your little box there going, I'm out of a job. But it's only a little box with a little mouth giving it like this, and behind it there's only a program running, pretending. So the whole thing acts appropriately in a Darwinian way.
Well, again, it's way past Darwin in terms of how our brain is manipulating, how our programs are anticipating. We're thinking, we can think 100 years from ahead of time. We can think about creatures that don't even have DNA similar to our own. We do it all the time. We think about the welfare of creatures that we have nothing in DNA common with. That they're a million-year ancestor, 2 million years ago. And we're able to use our resources to benefit them, which would be totally unproductive by Darwinian standards. And we're able to do that because now we're smarter than the DNA. Which didn't take much intelligence to be smarter than a molecule, but yeah, we finally got there, and now we're smarter than a DNA molecule, and we can do things for better reasons. Now, why you would do something like try to eviscerate the meaning of suffering and to turn it into a flavor of ice cream is beyond me. To turn it into a preference or an attachment or an addiction even, or to turn into some sort of a notion in the brain is just whatever. Have at it. But it's the wackiest thing I've seen a human being do. Yeah, I don't get it at all. Not just even a little tiny bit. I just don't get it. Not even. I can't make anything out of it. Because like I've stated before, the only thing I see as having any substance in the entire universe is this suffering thing. Is a consciousness in hard discomfort. There's nothing more meaningful, valuable. A zillion diamonds, a zillion, trillion, gazillion diamonds. Not good enough. There's nothing more precious than a sentient creature in a negative state of conscious experience. And it's not just the same thing as Candy Cane. It's not.
No, there's nothing to suffer at all. You're going to come back and say, I know what suffering is. And then, again, we're going to
yeah, well, again, you say there's nothing to suffer. Of course, it would be infinite regression if there was something to suffer. Obviously, our brain creates the fucking theater. There is no other theater that the theater is in. This is the theater. It creates the illusion of the theater. But to say there's, well, again, we're just tripping over words, We incur the harm to avoid the damage.
It's the I that's suffering, and then we go all the way forward again, and we know, because we've been through this over and over and over and over again, there is only programs running, and programs do not suffer. Bye.
Yeah, well, again, I'm not going to, programs running is what I've stated is there's just reflexes. And again, I'm sort of arguing for this two-brain theory, that there's a brain that's creating the illusion that we're living in, that's created this illusion. And then there's a brain who figures out how to deal with the situation this illusionary brain has created. And part of the illusion is it will inject indelible ink suffering into the atmosphere. It will bleed indelible ink suffering into our world in front of us. It will shove it in front of us and say, here's a situation for you. Okay? And the reason why the mechanism exists is because it had an evolutionary advantage in that now organisms could prevent the hammer. They didn't have to wait to get damaged to avoid, let's say, the hot water. The water in the stream is cold over here and comfortable here, and it's too hot over there. And so in the past, it would have to fly right into the hot before it knew it was hot, and then it would have to scream, "Ah! Get out of the hot." But now, because it has this bigger brain that can create this indelible ink in front of it, now it can drag that out here into the warm and prevent going into that cold. And that's what all the psychology is. That's what all the conditioning is, and all the emotions, and all the love, and all that kind of crap is all that. All right? But the simple truth is the harm, the perception of the harm is being used. It's the carrot and the stick. The original brain didn't have a carrot and a stick. Okay? It had reflexes. And the brain had created another brain in front of this brain, and because it could put carrots and sticks in it now. And now this brain could completely function based on the carrot and the sticks that the other brain is creating in front of it. Yeah, all right. I mean, it's a good conversation just to get through this brain stuff. But again, maybe we should just stay away. We should come up with some kind of generic word to use for the quality of qualitative sensation. Sensations that have built into them a positive or negative character. And we'll come up with some word for that. And we can leave it as a generic word, and then talk about brain function in the atmosphere of the creation of that thing. Because some elves aren't doing this conscious thing. They're not talking to our consciousness or through our consciousness. All they're doing is manipulating blocks of that stuff. They're making indelible ink and squirting it into the environment. I don't know how else to metaphor it. But it's indelible. It's hard. It's real. Real. I can't say real. Okay, it is an illusion, but it's it's one hell of an illusion. I'll say it again. It's one hell of a fucking illusion.